Hello, today we are going to talk about debugging in Eclipse with the Java language. Debugging is the process of finding sources for problems in your programs and then identifying ways to fix those problems and then fixing them. But you can also use debugging to generally understand complex code, especially if it's some other programmer who wrote it and you want to understand how it works. And for using Debugger today I have prepared a couple of classes. The first class is data storage that holds an array list of data objects or integer objects. And we have a few methods here. The first method will add an array, contents of an array into the array list. So we are adding them one by one, even though there is a better way to probably do it, but here we add them one by one. And then we have a method sum and remove, where we basically calculate the sum of all the elements in this data array list and then remove the elements finally, so there is not going to be hopefully there is not going to be any elements left in the array list after we are done. And then the last one is to show data, which simply iterates through the array list, printing out all the elements of the array list. And then for using these methods I have also a class with the main method, and the main method simply creates the object and calls the go method, and then the go method is then printing out some welcome greeting, initializes an array that will be added to this data storage, so it will be copied to the array list. Then we show the data of this data storage object, which is defined as instance variable, and we calculate the sum of the elements in the data storage and remove them at the same time. And then we print out the sum and show the data again to verify that the elements were removed. Now there are some problems in this program, and you can probably figure them out if you are a good programmer, but we are going to use the debugger feature to identify and fix those problems. And if I run this program, you can see that there is already one exception, null pointer exception, but we will see how this happens and try to understand the code line by line as it goes. And before we can start debugging, which is this little debug icon here, looks like a bug, we have to set breakpoint. And breakpoint is something that will where the debugger will pause the execution, and then you can continue line by line executing as the program advances. Now I've already assigned here one breakpoint, but let me remove it. So if you want to give a breakpoint to your code, just select on line where you would like the debugger to pause. For example here, this line, you double click here, or you right click and toggle breakpoint. Both works fine. So now when we run the debugger will stop or pause execution on this line, and then we can advance line by line while observing what's going on with the parameters and variables and so on. So now we start the debugger using this icon, and it asks us, okay, do you want to change perspective? Eclipse has many different perspectives. One of them is this Java perspective, which is basically used for writing code, and then debug perspective is another one. So select yes, and you can see that the perspective changed. If you want to change back to the old perspective, you can choose this right top corner. You have Java perspective icon and debug perspective icon. You can swap between the two quite simply by clicking these icons. Okay, debug perspective have different views. The view on the top left is where you can see all the method calls. It's a method stack. So we started from main method, and then we execute go method, which is now here. And you can see the green line shows the line that is currently paused. So it didn't execute this line, it's about to execute the line, and I will show you in a moment how to do that. And on the right side here you have variables, where you can see all the currently established variables. For now we have this, which means this object, and we have a d1, which happens to be null. So d1 is the instance variable over here. So then we have a few options. We have three icons here that are very important. Step into means also F5. You can, if you have a method call, you can go into the method call to observe what's going on in the method. So I'm going to use this in a moment. Step over basically executes the currently highlighted line, in this case this line, and goes to the next line step by step. And step return means that if you are executing a method, it basically runs to the end of the method without going step by step. but just executing the rest of the method and returning to the whoever is calling the method. So if I would click here now, it would get back to main, because from main we called go. But now, because we are not really interested what's going on in the println method, we can simply press F7 or sorry F6 and or click this icon. So it basically executes the line, and you can see that the console output is also here. And then we initialize an array again. We can just step over that line, and you can see that the new variable r was created, and you can even observe the contents here. And one cool thing about this is that you can even go ahead and modify the content if you want. But for now, we'll just change them, leave them as they are. So we have an array with contents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 5 elements from index 0 to 4. And then we are going to call add array, and now I'm interested what's going on in add array. So I'm going to I'm going to go into the method, see what's going on there. But oops, something happened. Let's click again. What's this? Now there is going to be some exception happening on that line, and now Eclipse wants to show us some code related to exception at the thread class. But we are not interested in this. We are not interested in the Java API, Java library. So we can also disable this code by going to Window Preferences. You go to Java, Debug, and Step Filtering. So here you can select which packages or which classes you don't want the debugger to show. So you can basically select all these existing API or Java class library packages that you are not interested in. You are only interested in your own code. You can add also custom filters. Now when we apply this, we can stop the current debugger by clicking this terminate button. We can go back to Java perspective. Okay, we are not interested in this. We debug again. We have still breakpoint here. We can debug again. Go to debug perspective. And now we are again on this line. We not step into, but we step over, step over, step into. We want to go to the method, but unfortunately it's going to create null pointer exception. So we can see that something bad happened on this line. A null pointer exception means we are trying to do something with a null object, and d1 happens to be null. So how to fix it? d1 equals new data storage. We create new instance, and then it should be okay. Okay, so the program is already done. We can debug again, try again, stepwise manner, step over, step over. We are not interested in the constructor, step over, and now step into. And now it worked. Now it's not null object anymore, and it worked. And now we go to this data storage class, and we have add array method, and you can see that the this class has the data instance variable, and currently it's empty. You can see that there are no elements here. But this method is going to add some things there. So we go in a for loop. So let's go. We can just step over. It goes to the next line. Step over, and now you can see I becomes 0. We have the I variable here. You can step over, step over, step over, step over, step over. You can see that I keeps growing. Now its I is 4. And how many elements do we have in this input array? Well, you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6 elements. Index 5 is the last one. And currently the I has value 4. So let's see what happens when I go more. Step over, I becomes 5. Actually I is gone now because I exited the loop. I became 5, we exited the loop, and well, you can see that the data has only 5 elements from you can see the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the last value, whereas the input array had actually 6 values. So what happened to the last one? Again, you can observe, if you observe how the I was growing, you can see that it actually finished before I hit 5. So it's less than 5, it hits one step too early. So how to fix this? One way is to make it dynamic. Input.length. We correct it by making it dependent on the size of the array, length of the array. Okay, that one is now fixed. We can we can continue, or we can terminate, run again, debugger. But I'm not really interested in running this line anymore because I fixed the code. So let me put another breakpoint here. And now I'm already debugging this one. I'm going to simply resume. It will now run all these lines until the next breakpoint if I resume. So now, yes, we added everything to the array. So you can see that the if we go to D1, you can see the data array there, and it has these all 6 elements now. So it worked fine. So let's see what happens when I show the data. We step into, and we show the contents again. We can go stepwise manner, step over. You can see the I appearing here. I is 1 now, and we are printing out things here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we printed out everything, and new line at the end, and we are done with this method. Okay, then sum and remove. Again, we go into the, actually let me show you. I will resume this one. You can see that sum is 9, but how is this sum? This is supposed to be 21 if you add them together, but somehow we got 9, and the contents, after supposedly removing, it's still remaining some things there in the array list. So let's see why this happens. I'm going to disable these breakpoints because I'm not going to need them. I'm more interested in this method, so let's add breakpoint over here. I'm running debugger again. So to see what's going on inside the sum and remove method, we can step into the method. And now let's observe line by line. After executing this line, you can see that there is a new local variable sum. The value is 0. We step over this line. We can see that I becomes 0, and it runs from 0 to data size. And we execute this line. We can see that the sum became 1 because we took. Okay, let me open also this one. You can see the contents of the array list perhaps. So okay, array list has now, we removed 1 element, so it has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the challenge is here that now, what is the size of this array list? It's 5. So this actually became from 6 to 5. So it's actually decreasing while I is increasing. Okay, but let's see step by step. Again, step over. I becomes 1. And after this line we remove element I, which is 1, so we element 3 we remove. So 1 plus 3 is 4, and 3 was removed from the list. And I becomes 2 now, so we remove the second element, which is 5, 0, 1, 2, we take 5 from the list, and we add it to the sum, becomes 9. Okay. And now I becomes 3, and the loop is over because there were only 3 elements, and the sum ends up being 9. So how can we fix this? Obviously the problem is here we use the data size while removing things from the data, so the size is decreasing while I is increasing. So one way would be to take always the first element from the list, or another way, which I use here, is to only get elements from the array list, and just at the end clear the entire array list. So that's another way. There are many ways to solve it. This is one of them. Okay, now we can terminate it. Let's try to run normally again, see if we get correct results. Okay, we have contents, we have original contents 6, we have the sum 21, and contents after, which is as we expected, it's empty. So this is how you use the basic features of this debugger in Eclipse. There are more features than this. This is just the very basics. Remember, step into the method that you are currently going to execute. Step over, just execute the line, step over it, and step return from the method to whoever is calling it. And then we have this resume the execution until next breakpoint, and terminate, which will basically terminate the debugger. So that's all about debugging. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully this will be a very useful tool for you to figure out what's going on in your code. Thanks for watching.